very grateful to be with you this morning. Sadhvi Bhagavati Devi, thank you for blessing this occasion with your presence. And thank all of you for giving your precious time to be here today. One of the most transforming realizations that I had in my life was a discovery that all of our desires, aspirations, and all the frustrations that we undergo to not fulfilling those desires, they all originate each of our hearts. In that love is true fulfillment. I would spend some time with Mother Teresa in Calcutta. I remember she told me something. She said, the greatest problem in this world is hunger. Not hunger of the stomach, hunger of the heart. And due to that hunger of the heart, she said, she had seen even the wealthiest, most powerful people in the cities of the Western world. They were so frustrated. Because there's only one thing that could fulfill this hunger of the heart. Momentary satisfaction to the mind and the senses. But only to love and to be love could give satisfaction to the heart. And the heart is crying for that love. But unfortunately, our minds are so distracted, trying to find that same experience in so many other alternatives. To love and be loved is the most fundamental need for every living being. It's the only true pleasure that can satisfy us. And according to all the great scriptures of the world, the origin of that love, that need for love, is the love between the Atma. That when you put water in the root of a tree, automatically that water goes to every part of the tree. The root nourishes the trunk, the branches, the twigs, the leaves, the flowers. Krishna tells in Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. That I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from me. I'm the root of all existence. The Brahma Sutra explains, Janmadya Shayataha. That the absolute truth is from whom everything is emanating. When we learn the art of placing the water of our love in the root of existence, the Lord, then that love naturally reaches every living being. Mamayvam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Because wherever there's life, it is a part of God. Factually, you cannot love God and dislike anyone. That is the real test. In the Bible, Jesus said, the first commandment, it's in the Old Testament too, to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And the natural byproduct of that is you love your neighbor as yourself. And every living being is our neighbor. We quoted last night from the Gita. Vidyavanaya sampane brahmani gavihastini suni chaiva swapaki cha pandita samadarshana. Real wisdom is to see everyone with equal vision, because we see the spiritual essence within. If my mother has a disease, I may strongly dislike the disease, but I love my mother. The Atma is perfect, but when it is covered by avidya or ignorance, which is the great disease, then all sorts of symptoms come. Dissatisfaction, envy, arrogance, and all of these other things. Yoga is to equip us with the realization, the experience in life where we can see beyond the disease and understand our sisterhood, our brotherhood, our connection to everyone. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a very great saint in the Bhakti tradition, he explained that when we connect to the love of God that is within our heart, it naturally manifests within this world in the form of compassion. Selfless compassion. Is this not the greatest need in the world? The things of this world are neutral. Their value is really according to the consciousness in which we use it. Just like a knife. Is a knife good or bad? If the knife is in the hands of a thief, he will slash someone's throat to take what they have. If that same knife is in the hands of a surgeon, he will save a person's life. So similarly, everything within this creation has its potential spiritual value. If we simply learn how to use it with devotion, with love. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai Sravanadi Sudichiti Koriye Yudvai. This love is dormant within every heart. There's a beautiful song. Wake up, sleeping souls. Wake up, wake up. You are sleeping in the lap of Maya or illusion. You do not understand your real potential, who you really are, and what you really have to offer. Yes, we can chase after the mirages of this world, birth after birth after birth, and never quench our thirst. But when we direct that same enthusiasm toward excavating our hearts by awakening that love, then not only do we find the real oasis of pleasure, but we can be empowered to share that with so many others, everywhere. In order to actually fill our hearts with meaning, fulfillment, and value, we have to simultaneously empty it from our egoistic pursuits. The Gita tells, Tani saravani samyamya yukta asita matpara vasehi yasyendriyani tasya pragya pratishtata. They are going simultaneous. You can't empty in a sustainable way unless we fill our hearts, fill our minds with something better. And at the same time, we can't really fill our minds with something better as long as we keep cluttering it with inferior thoughts and words and actions. Vishayavani vartante niraharasya dehena rasavarajam yasoprasya param dristva nivartate. The Gita tells, in a sustainable way, we can transcend, overcome our materialistic habits by experiencing something higher, something deeper, and something greater. That's what yoga practice helps us do, if it is done with sincerity. Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna tells in the Gita, as someone approaches me, I reciprocate accordingly. What we're looking for, that's what will be revealed to us. Therefore, in order to really get the maximum benefit, we are to be saragrahi, seekers of the essence. What is that essence? Who am I? What do I really want? To be an instrument of the infinite, inconceivably all-pervading, sweet love of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhakti tradition, that is the highest aspiration. On the banks of the river Ganga, 5,000 years ago, under a banyan tree, that's not far from here. It's near Meerut, between Delhi and Hrishikesh. There is a place called Shukatal. And that is where the great Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. There was a king named Parikshit. He was the emperor of all directions. He was cursed to die in 7 days. He was in the prime of his youth. He had a beautiful family and children, unbelievable wealth. And unlike the leaders of today, all the citizens loved him because he loved God. Therefore, he saw every citizen as a child of God and served them with honor and respect. When he got the news that he was going to die in 7 days, he immediately left everything to go to the bank of Mother Ganga, knowing that there is no sacred and more auspicious place than that. Because Ganga Devi is the presiding deity, is an expansion of the Lord's feminine potency, the origin of all grace, the bestower of love. And the water of the Ganga is the energy of Ganga Devi. It is the liquid manifestation of grace. So he took shelter there. And all the sages of the whole planet gathered. In those days, people had yogic powers. They could travel much faster than our trains or planes. And among all the thousands of great rishis and sages, they chose a 16-year-old boy to speak, Shukadev, because he was so qualified. He had such good character. And the king asked him 3 questions primarily. Of all the spiritual literatures of all the world, I don't have time to read them all and study them all. Just tell me the very essence of all of them. and explained to me what is the primary duty of every human being in all places, in all times, and in all circumstances. And lastly, what is the true duty of a person who is about to die? He had 7 days. There's not a single person in this world who knows for sure that we have 7 minutes. Time is precious. To utilize every moment that we have to nourish the real need of the heart is real advancement of consciousness. There's a beautiful story Shukadev Goswami tells in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam on the bank of Mother Ganga. It was about little Krishna when he was just a small boy, just about 2 years old. Krishna tells in Gita, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvata tyaktva deham punara janma naiti mam eti sorjuna. One who understands Krishna is Bhagavan, who descends into this world. And he is the possessor of all potencies, even when he's a tiny little baby. But just to attract the love of the people of Vrindavan, and just to reciprocate with their affection, and to attract the hearts of all living beings for all times, that all-powerful Lord appears like a helpless little child. And one day, a lady came out of the forest. She had no education. She had no caste by the standards of those days. She was just a very, very simple lady living in the forest. She had a basket of fruit. And she called, everybody or anybody here in Gokul that wants to buy my fruits, please come, I have fresh fruits. Nobody came. Nobody was interested. The little baby Krishna, he became so enthusiastic. He had just learned to walk. Interesting, isn't it? Krishna tells in Gita, I'm the ability in men and women, I'm the intelligence of the intelligence, I'm the source of everything, the strength of the strong. But just to attract our hearts, he's learning how to walk. So he runs to the place with grains in his hand, because in those days there wasn't money. You would barter some grains for fruit. That was his idea. But as he was running, all the grains were falling out of his tiny little hand. And when he came to the fruit vendor, there was only hardly 1 or 2 pieces of grain in his hand. And he said, here, please, give me fruit. And she looked at him and was so charmed by the sweetness of his smile. She wanted to please him. Atapum birdvijastraistas varnashrama vibhakasha shvanusta dharmasya samsadir haritoshanam. The real success and perfection of anything we do is when we please Lord Hari. She just wanted to please this boy. She didn't know who he was. She filled his hands with fruits. She filled his arms with fruits. And she said, here, enjoy them, as many as you like. If you want, come back and I'll give you more and more and more. And Gopal smiled at her, laughed, and then ran home carrying all these fruits. When he arrived at home, Krishna's mother, Yashoda, asked, where did you get these fruits? He said, I saw this lady selling fruits and she gave them, I bought them, I purchased them. She said, "My child, you cannot trust everyone like you trust people at home." And little Gopal said, "What does this mean, distrust? I don't understand this word." Meanwhile, the lady turned around and her fruit basket was filled with precious jewels. Diamonds, emeralds, rubies, lapis, pearls. Overflooding. It was a massive treasure. But she didn't even notice it. She wanted to get more fruits from her little hut in the forest to bring more back to give to Krishna. So she picked up the basket. She was so enthusiastic to get more fruit that she didn't even notice its heaviness. She ran home, put the basket down, got all the other fruits in her house, went to put it in the basket, and she saw that her basket was filled with the most priceless jewels. But for her, those jewels didn't mean anything. She was experiencing the treasure of the enthusiasm to serve the Lord and please the Lord. She just dumped all the jewels out as if they were worth nothing, filled her basket with fruits, and ran to give them to Krishna. And she called out, "Gopal, Gopal, I have more fruits for you." And he ran outside and took all the rest of her fruits and brought them back in and smiled. You see, the basket of her heart was filled with the Purushartha Shiromani, the crest jewel of all wealth. Prem. Prem means unmotivated, uninterrupted, selfless love for the Lord and for all living beings. That is prem. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachati. Simply because she offered a few simple fruits with sincere devotion. Meanwhile, Gopal told his mother, Yashoda, "Please, let's give these fruits to everyone." And Krishna wrapped them in Yashoda's cloth, sari. And she was giving them to the friends and to the neighbors, and however many she gave out, there was always more and more and more. There was no end to those fruits. And each fruit, anyone who ate it, was completely satisfied. Their hearts were overbrimming with joy. This is the reciprocation of bhakti. The devotee wants to share the fruits of prema with the world, the love of the Lord. And the Lord is very eager to share the fruits of the devotee's love with the world. There's a beautiful story I'd like to share. Lord Chaitanya was born on the bank of River Ganga. And how he taught the world to honor, to worship, and to deeply appreciate the grace of Mother Ganga. He explained that love of God is easily accessible, if we have faith in the grace of Ganga, in the grace of the sages, and the grace of the holy name. He became a sannyasi, Swami. And from Puri, where he was living, he was en route to go to Vrindavan. While he was there, he was traveling through the Jharikanda forest, which is in Bihar. In those days, 500 years ago, this forest was extremely dense and very dangerous. He was with one assistant. And as he was going by this little lonely footpath, there was a Bengali tiger sleeping right on that path. And Sri Chaitanya's assistant was hoping he would not wake this tiger. But the Lord went right up to the tiger and put his foot on the tiger's head and gently kicked him. Usually you don't want to wake a sleeping tiger. That tiger, he woke up. Who has done this to me? And Lord Chaitanya looked at him and said, chant the name of Hari. He said it with such love, with such compassion for that tiger. He overcame, the tiger forgot that he was a tiger. Because the Lord was seeing him as a pure soul, as a lover. So the tiger leaped up on his hind legs, raised his front paws, and started crying out, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. And hairs, all the hairs on his body stood on end, his limbs were trembling. He went to bathe in a lake, and there was a wild herd of male elephants and females as well. Now, coming here, you saw these signs about being aware of wild elephants. They're the most dangerous animal in the forest. Years ago, when I was living in the Himalayan jungles, people would tell me, snakes can kill you. Leopards and tigers can kill you. Scorpions can hurt you. But a single elephant can destroy a whole village if they go mad. If you're in a car, there's nothing a tiger or a lion or anyone else can do to you. They could get on your car, but you can just drive away. But a tiger could turn it over, stomp on it, crush it, and kill everything inside of it. Very powerful. Lord Chaitanya took water and splashed it right in the elephant's eyes and said, chant Hari. And the elephants began chanting Hari in ecstasy. Now the reason I'm telling you this story is the lesson of the next part. The worst enemies of a forest are tiger and deer. Why? Because tigers eat deers. They jump on them, and I'm not going to go into the details. So the deers fear the tiger more than anything, and the tiger sees the deer simply to satisfy by eating their flesh and blood. So as the Lord was dancing through the forest doing kirtan, so many deers were following behind on one side of him, and so many tigers were following behind on the other side. They couldn't give him up. They just wanted to be close to him. Ultimately, we're not humans or tigers or deers. We're pure souls. We're Atmas. And we all have a relationship with God and with each other in that. Lord Chaitanya turned to them and said, please chant Kirtan of Hari. The deer started chanting. The tigers started chanting. And then something amazing happened. Each deer paired off with a tiger. The tigers were lovingly embracing the deer with tears of loving affection in their eyes. And the deers were fearlessly embracing the tigers. And according to the scripture, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the tigers and deers not only embraced, they were lovingly, in a transcendental spirit, kissing each other. Because the love of God within their heart awakened, their love for their worst enemies awakened. They were no longer identifying themselves with these external designations. In this world today, There's so much ahankar, ego. We identify ourselves with a particular body, with a particular nature. And from that, we make friends and we make enemies. In Israel, between the Palestinians and the Jews, due to years of conflict, so much hatred. I'm going to tell you a brief story. I only have a few minutes. That really brought this home to me. Some years ago, I was in a very holy place in Bengal called Ekachakra, the birthplace of Lord Nityananda, who is the personification of giving love and compassion to everyone and anyone without discrimination of who they are or what they've done. It was in a field under a tree. There was about 4,000 people assembled, just sitting in this field, and it was pitch dark at night. It's just a very slight moon. There was a little lantern, and I was sitting under this tree on a little raised platform with one of my dear friends and brothers. His name is Sachinandan Swami. And I gave a little talk. And then, first time I ever heard this, something sprung from his heart. And he told a beautiful story. His father was an officer in the SS Gestapo regime of the Nazi army, who was instrumental in running concentration camps and going on expeditions where tens and thousands of Jews were killed. And he told a story how in one concentration camp, a friend of his, he saw something very, very strange. In the holding chamber, just before going into that concentration camp, into the gas chambers, there were little paintings of butterflies. He asked so many of these people about to die, why are there butterflies here? Nobody answered. But finally, one old man about to die, he says, this is the lesson of the butterfly. The butterfly was a caterpillar who was crawling in the dirt, any moment going to be crushed by the feet of humans or eaten by birds. And then has found himself in a cocoon, like a prison. But through tolerating those inconveniences, he is transformed into a beautiful butterfly. So similarly, right now, we are about to die. We are living in dirt. We are being tortured. But we have faith. By our devotion to God, through these ordeals, we will be liberated like butterflies and freely fly in the spiritual sky. But you people, you are going to have to suffer the consequences of your actions. This person was shocked because he was taught through the propaganda of the time that Jews were subhuman and they had no sensitivity and no intelligence. And that's how they justified murdering. But after hearing the story of the butterfly, he thought, these people are so deep. I've been duped. I'm killing good people, thoughtful people, beautiful people. He couldn't do it anymore. He ran away. My friend Satchidananda Swami explained the nature of his father and what he did. And I explained that most of the family of my father was killed by people just like his father. And yet, Satchidananda Swami and myself, we are the most intimate, loving, best friends. It doesn't matter that his father was a Nazi Jew killer and my father was a Jew that had relatives killed. On the basis of connecting to that love of God that is within our hearts, we can overcome all of these conflicts. And yes, after we both told the stories right in front of all those thousands of people, we were so happy because I never heard this about him and he never heard this about me. We were embracing and we were dancing together just like the deer and the tigers. But I must confess we didn't kiss each other because Swamis don't usually do that kind of thing. So this beautiful story about the tigers and the deers, it's allegorical as well of the potential within all of us to overcome all of these conflicts within ourselves and among ourselves. If we empty ourselves of the ego and the ignorance of misconception and selfishness, and we fill ourselves with devotion. The natural byproduct of devotion is to honor and respect all beings. Lord Chaitanya offered a little prayer. Trinadapi sunichena toror iba sehishnana amani namana dena kirtaniya sadahari. What is a saintly person? A person who is more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant and forgiving than a tree. A tree will stand in the summer sun and give us shade. A tree will give wood. Even standing in the icy winter, give us wood to keep us warm. And here in India, the mango tree, in most places it rains only for 4 months a year, and the mango may not get a drop of water until 8 months later. But it's in May, the hottest time of the season, when it hasn't gotten water for about 6 months, that it's giving fresh, juicy mangoes to quench our thirst. Be more benevolent than a tree. To offer all respect to others and not expect that respect for oneself. Of course, it has to be with intelligence. To empty our hearts of ignorance and ego. This is the blessing that is unconditionally offered to everyone. If we simply open our minds and open our hearts to receive it. And I am so happy to be at this beautiful yoga conference in the presence of Bhagavati Devi. I thank you so very, very much.